Here's another technique for washing just a few dishes. I like this technique a little better. I keep an empty soap bottle so that when I want dishwater, I put a little bit of water in my bottle, and I can fill the bottle this far with water, and then I'll add a little bit of soap so that I have a bottle of soapy water. And I can use this bottle of soapy water whenever I want to wash dishes. You have to pour the water in slow because there was a little bit of soap left in the bottle. See, now I'm going to take this lid off and pour it in. The little bit of soap left, it makes a lot of bubbles. If I poured the water really fast, it would make too many bubbles, and I wouldn't be able to pour the soap in. There's a trick if that happens. You can do this. You can squeeze the bottle a little, get that soap out, the suds. Then you'll have space to pour in some soap. And you add some soap. Now when you want to do dishes, you'll have soapy water. So then you put the lids back on the soaps. And this one, you give it a little shake, rinse it off. Now you've got soapy water, so whenever you need to wash some dishes, you don't have to worry about how much soap to put on your sponge and about adding the right amount of water. You just take your soapy water, put it on your sponge, and you got a soapy sponge. And if you're in the middle of washing dishes and your sponge gets dry, you just add a little more soapy water on. Now that I've got my soapy sponge, I'm going to do the same thing with these dishes as I did before. So I have to put the biggest plate in first, but look, it needs to be scraped. So I'll move these out of the way. Now I have a compost, so I will scrape into my compost. If you don't have a compost, you can just scrape right into your garbage. Okay, and there's a few seeds, that's okay, because I also have a garbage disposal. If you don't have a garbage disposal, just make sure your strainer is in the sink to catch the food scraps. Now I'm going to put my spoon into my cup. This is a nice trick, is put all your spoons into your cup or mug, and you can soak them in there. There's a little food scrap on here. I'm going to throw that into the compost. Okay. Now I'm going to put a little water on these because they look a little sticky. And I'm going to put some water on in here because the food on the silverware looked a little sticky as well. Now, I'm going to take my sponge. Remember, I used the soapy water on it, so it's nice and soapy. And I'm going to start washing my plates. I just have a few, so I'm doing the same technique as last time. Actually, before I do that, you want to check and make sure you have a clean sink to put them into. If this sink had anything in it, I would just give it a little wipe and make sure there was nothing in there. The soap is okay because these dishes are going to be soapy when I put them in there. So I'll do the dishes one at a time. I'm actually going to put this plate on top of this bowl, and even though I have a big plate, this plate ideally would be at the bottom, but I have so few dishes that I'm actually going to just put this one right on top. This is okay when you just have 2 or 3 dishes. If you have a lot of dishes, then you want to stack in order because you don't want it to fall over, but this is such a small amount, it's going to balance just fine. Now I'm washing my silverware. That one was pretty dirty. And then my mug. And now I'm going to bring my faucet over, turn it on, Just a nice gentle stream. It doesn't have to be gushing out. And I'm going to rinse. So notice I washed all my dishes with the water off, because living in California, we are always experiencing droughts. 1 year we might have enough water, and then for 3 years we don't. And we have to sparingly use that water. We have to use just a little bit the whole time, so that we make sure we're not wasting it. So when you're doing dishes, you want to be careful not to leave the water running. I turned the water off because I knew I was going to have to negotiate where to put this bowl. There we go. I'm going to put it over here so it doesn't block the silverware. Now, I'm going to wash the silverware off. And there we go. Now, you're not finished if the sink is a mess. So look, there's some food scraps in the strainer. So I'll take that. Since I have a compost, I'll dump that in my compost. If I didn't have a compost, I would dump it into my garbage or put it down the garbage disposal. Now I'm going to wipe my sink. I'm going to get some of the soap suds out of my sponge. Give my sink a good wipe. A little bit of soap left in the sink isn't going to hurt anything. It'll drain down and the bubbles will pop. Now I see some seeds in here. I'm going to wash those right down the garbage disposal. And I'm done. And I'm just going to run the disposal for a moment. Sounds nice and clean. Look, there's still a couple more seeds I didn't catch. Here we go.